I'm trying to understand something. Maybe you guys can help me try to understand it, because I'm literally, I have no idea why this is the case, but literally every time Nintendo does something, people defend it, and they seem to have a lot more leeway to do some shady shit, like anti-consumer shit, than Sony, Microsoft, and all these other companies. When you really look at the grand scheme of things, really, Nintendo isn't really much better. In a lot of cases, they are worse than these companies, like Electronic Arts, like Sony, like Microsoft, and all these companies that people seem to despise. Well, Sony, I guess you have a lot of fanboys, definitely. But it seems like the most hardcore fanboys in the entire video game community are the Nintendo ones. Why is it that Nintendo seems to have a lot more leeway to do certain things than other companies? Even like PC gamers, right? So PC gamers talk about how exclusive games are anti-consumer and how all games should be on PC, and it's messed up that Sony is holding their games hostage on their platform. You don't see a lot of conversation, though, like from those people. You don't see a lot of conversation about that when it comes to Nintendo's exclusives. People seem like, I was having a debate with Bullet Barry, remember, on exclusives years and years and years ago, and we were talking about exclusives, and he was saying, "Oh no, I think exclusives are fine on Nintendo," and I'm like, "But it's the same exact thing, isn't it?" Like they're saying that if you want to buy our console, you need to buy our system. Like if you want our exclusives, rather, you need to buy our console, right? So if you want to play the newest Mario games, Zelda, Smash Brothers, you need to have a Nintendo Switch in order to do so, right? So what I'm trying to figure out is why a lot of people on the PC side seem to be a lot more fine with Nintendo having exclusives, but Sony and Microsoft, they can't have exclusives. That's one thing that makes no sense. And then just when you think of like generally the anti-consumer shit that Nintendo does, right? Nintendo is probably more anti-consumer, is the most anti-consumer console manufacturer to exist. I mean, they've been doing this since the dawn of time. Remember when this NES came out? You had to sign exclusive contracts with Nintendo. You couldn't put your game on their platform like the Master System, or else Nintendo would no longer allow you to publish on their platform. I mean, they've been doing this for years. But like recently with Nintendo, they're up to some shady shit too. So, the paid online thing, first of all, okay, yeah, the paid online Nintendo is a lot cheaper. I think it's like $20 a year, so it's like, it's really negligible, like just if you think about it, like, oh, $20, anybody can pay $20. But it's not like the cost as much as it's the principle. Like, you charge a premium to play games online, yet your online service is shit. Like, the PlayStation 3 was free, and they had pretty shitty online back in the day, back in the days, the early PSN days from like 2006. It's still shitty though, even though you have to pay for it. So having to pay for it, not to pay for it, doesn't really mean anything. I mean, you look at Steam, they're a free service. You look at all these other services. I mean, they're free and they actually do a better job. Discord, they have much better online features, and it's actually a much better online gaming network than Nintendo, where you can't even do voice chat. You can't even do voice chat on that platform, on an online gaming platform in the year 2020. You can't do voice chat. You have to download some type of mobile app, and they charge you for this when it's actually inferior to most free services that are out there. I mean, even PlayStation Network was a lot better back in the days of the PS3 than Nintendo is right now with the Switch, which is pretty sad, because anyone who grew up back then or remembers those days, online sucked back then on the PS3, and it was free, and it was still a lot better than what we got right now with Nintendo. That's one thing. Another thing is Nintendo is the most expensive platform to buy games. Ever heard of the Switch tax? Where the cartridges, they call it, because the cartridges cost a lot more to manufacture to physical retailers than discs. So games end up costing a lot more on a Nintendo Switch, even if they're not really the best version of a specific game. Like The Witcher, for example, which still costs like $50-$60, and the game is like, how old at this point? 5 years old? And I know the game just came out on Switch like a year ago, but still, like, no, like that, a 5-year-old game should not cost that much. That's one thing. And think of all their games, like Smash Brothers and so on and so forth, that are the same price for 10 years. Like, it's insane. So, Nintendo is the most expensive place to buy games. Nintendo is honestly the worst place to play games. So why is it that we defend Nintendo? We hold Nintendo so close to our hearts. more than other companies that are actually, like, if you really think about it objectively, they're a lot more consumer friendly. I've never heard of Sony and Microsoft, for example, file copyright claims against Let's Players. It's just like all the shit that Nintendo does that is infinitely worse than all the shit that Microsoft and Nintendo have pulled. Well, Microsoft and Sony, though the whole DRM thing with Microsoft in 2013 was definitely worse than anything Nintendo has tried, but they reversed it. But Nintendo still has these archaic policies from 20, 30 years ago. It's like they're stuck in 1992 when it's 2020. Like they haven't really adapted to the modern gaming ecosystem. Maybe that's like the charm that Nintendo has, is that they've always stayed true to themselves. They've always consistently had high quality games that is good because it has the name Nintendo on it, though. There are certain games that are definitely an exception to that rule, but when you think of high-quality exclusives, no matter what, you think of Sony, you think of Microsoft, Nintendo has indisputably been the most consistent quality-wise with their software. Their hardware is a completely different story. I mean, since the Nintendo 64, Nintendo, like the actual experience overall on their platforms has been declining very fast. So Nintendo 64 was good, but PlayStation was obviously a lot better. The GameCube, the PS2 just blew it away, and then the Wii was just the same graphics as the PS2, and it was very outdated. The Wii U was the same exact thing, very outdated, and it didn't really offer anything. But I think people like the charm of the Nintendo Switch. I think that's another thing. That, the whole premise of, you can play on the go and you can play at home, and like people just like gimmicks. No matter what people say about Nintendo, about how they have these stupid motion gimmicks and we should just let us play our games, say what you want, but the gimmicks work. I mean, they're hit or miss. Like the Wii U gimmick was a total, complete, abysmal failure. But, when they hit it really well. When the Nintendo Switch is selling like hell, the Nintendo Wii was selling great too. So when they do a gimmick and when they do it right, I guess people feel like the Nintendo platform offers something unique and is something that is worth playing despite its shortcomings. But, I just think when you just look at it, like, just from a regular, like, from the perspective of a gamer, Nintendo is definitely the most anti-consumer out of all of those companies. Out of Microsoft, Nintendo, why do I keep repeating? Out of Microsoft, Sony, you have EA, and let's talk about EA. Here's the funny thing, right? People talk about how awful EA is, and people talk about how awful these companies are. But, the funny thing is about Nintendo, you could say, well, how is Nintendo worse than EA is probably something that people are thinking. And, maybe if you just think of it in general, Nintendo is probably not as bad as EA, but they're not that great themselves, Nintendo. But, like, I'm just thinking, has EA ever done a thing where in order to save your progress and transfer it to other games, like Dragon Age, for example, right? You had Dragon Age Origins and you had Dragon Age 2 and you were able to transfer your data, but then when Dragon Age Inquisition came out, you couldn't just, like, natively transfer your save file because it came across generations, right? Like, the old Dragon Age games were on PS3, these ones were on the new one, Inquisition, was on PS4, so you had to get Dragon Age Keep to transfer your data over, but it was free, right? You didn't have to pay them anything, you just had to have an EA account. With Nintendo, if you want to transfer, right? If you want to transfer your Pokemon from the past 20 years, you have to pay $16 a year. An extra $16 a year. If you already have the Nintendo Switch Online, that's not included. How messed up is that? Really, like, how messed up is that? And Nintendo gets away with so much, I feel like, a lot more than a lot of these other companies. And I think it's just because a lot of people grew up with Nintendo, they have a lot of fond memories with Nintendo. I think that might be it. It might just be like people grew up with Nintendo and they just, it holds a place to their heart. They think of their fond memories. I mean, Nintendo has contributed a lot to the gaming industry, so I guess, because of all their innovations and contributions, that they do get a lot more leeway than these other companies. Nintendo pretty much invented analog. They saved the video game industry in the 1980s. They've done so much. I'm not here to discredit that, but I'm just trying to figure out why Nintendo, when they really do things that are a lot worse than other companies, that kind of gets neglected from all these YouTubers, and all these other people in the community that are so quick to call out companies like EA and Activision and so on and so forth. But when Nintendo does some pretty messed up shit, It's like, maybe they talk about it, but it's definitely downplayed a lot more than if something like EA. Imagine if EA did that, where you had to pay like a yearly subscription fee to transfer your save data over. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost incomprehensible. And yeah, Nintendo's definitely gotten a lot of shit over the past couple of years with certain things that they did, especially with Pokemon Sword and Shield not having all the Pokemon. But more of that was geared towards Game Freak than the actual publisher, Nintendo. So, I mean, I haven't really thought of like any like huge controversy Nintendo's been involved in. Like, the people like Nintendo, maybe like they've had a few blunders in the past few years, like especially with the Wii U. But it seems like the people who play on Nintendo, they're the most hardcore defenders of that brand. That they seem fine, like just overlooking a lot of the messed up things that they do. But I don't know. That's just what I think. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm missing something here, but I think that might just have to do with it. People are just they have so many fond memories growing up with Nintendo compared to like growing up with Xbox or PlayStation. Like, Nintendo is really a brand that resonates with gamers, and in a lot of cases, like, it really defines gaming, and it's probably innovated more than any of those companies I've mentioned throughout this video. So, maybe it's just that, because they've garnered so much respect over the years that even if they do some things that are messed up, people are quick to defend it because, well, the things that they've done in the past counts for something. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I just thought it was an interesting topic to make. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye.